the largest counterfeit money operation in Burkina Faso's history. In a groundbreaking operation, President Ibrahim Traoré led the dismantling of the most extensive counterfeit money network ever uncovered in Burkina Faso. The operation resulted in the seizure of an astonishing 30 billion CFA francs in high-quality counterfeit currency, hidden within a luxury villa in one of Ouagadougou's upscale neighborhoods. The scale and sophistication of the operation pointed to a well-organized conspiracy aimed at destabilizing Africa's economy. The discovery. The investigation began with a keen observation of Aminata Ouagadougou, a young clerk at the Central Bank of Burkina Faso. During routine money counting, she noticed that while the texture and color of the banknotes appeared authentic, something felt amiss. Upon closer inspection, she realized they were counterfeit, remarkably high-quality fakes that could easily pass standard checks. Alarmed, she reported her findings to her superiors. Jean-Claude Caber, the bank manager, initially skeptical, authorized a detailed examination. The results confirmed Ouagadougou's suspicions. Counterfeit CFA francs were circulating in the market, indistinguishable from real ones to the naked eye. The implications were dire. If the public became aware, it could lead to a loss of confidence in the banking system and economic collapse. Government response. Finance Minister Laurent Gbagbo was immediately informed. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, he instructed strict confidentiality and promised to brief President Traoré. Upon receiving the news, President Traoré reacted with fury, declaring, "This is not ordinary counterfeiting. This is economic warfare." He convened an emergency meeting with the National Security Council, including the Interior Minister, Defense Minister, Intelligence Chief, and the Central Bank Governor. Traoré emphasized that the counterfeit operation was an attempt to devalue the national currency and impoverish the people. Intelligence Chief Commandant Origo reported an abnormal increase in cash circulation, indicating that large amounts of money were being injected into the market. The central bank governor confirmed that the money supply was increasing uncontrollably, but the source remained unidentified. President Traoré ordered the formation of a special task force comprising top intelligence officers, financial experts, and special forces to investigate and dismantle the counterfeit network. Uncovering the network. The task force's investigation led to a crucial breakthrough. The counterfeit banknotes were printed on paper not produced in Burkina Faso. Customs records revealed that high-quality printing paper and special inks had been imported over the past 6 months. The buyer was identified as a company named Primerie Modern SA, owned by François Ouedraogo, a man who had suddenly acquired significant wealth, purchasing luxury properties and vehicles. Surveillance was initiated on Ouedraogo, revealing that he frequently visited an industrial zone at night. On one such occasion, he was observed leaving his residence at midnight and heading towards the industrial zone. The surveillance team reported that he entered an old factory building, where lights were visible and machinery sounds were heard, indicating active operations. The raid. President Traoré authorized a covert operation to raid the facility. A convoy of 20 vehicles, moving without lights to maintain secrecy, approached the target at 2 a.m. Special forces surrounded the building, ensuring all exits were blocked. Inside, they discovered a fully operational counterfeit money printing facility, complete with advanced machinery and counterfeit currency ready for distribution. SahelLibertyNews.com. The operation resulted in the arrest of François Ouedraogo and several accomplices. Further investigations revealed that the counterfeit money had been circulating not only within Burkina Faso but also across neighboring countries, threatening the stability of the entire West African region. Aftermath and implications. The dismantling of this counterfeit money network was a significant victory for President Traoré's administration and a testament to the vigilance and dedication of individuals like Aminata Ouagadougou. It highlighted the vulnerabilities in the financial systems and the lengths to which criminal organizations would go to undermine national economies. In response, the government implemented stricter security measures in currency production and distribution, enhanced border controls, and launched public awareness campaigns to educate citizens on identifying counterfeit money. Number 1 Best Currency Travel Guide 2024. This operation not only safeguarded Burkina Faso's economy, but also sent a strong message to those who would attempt to destabilize the nation's financial integrity. President Traoré's decisive leadership in confronting this threat reinforced the commitment to national sovereignty and economic resilience. When President Ibrahim Traoré received word from the finance minister that billions in counterfeit currency were circulating within Burkina Faso, his reaction was immediate and explosive. He slammed his fist on the presidential desk, declaring, "This isn't just counterfeiting. This is economic warfare. Someone is trying to destroy our currency and push our people into poverty." He understood the devastating implications of counterfeit money entering the economy at such a scale. Inflation could spiral out of control. Trust in banks would erode. Ordinary citizens, unaware they were handling fake currency, could lose their savings. The stability of not just Burkina Faso, but possibly the entire West African monetary system, was at stake. Emergency National Security Council meeting. President Traoré wasted no time. That very evening, he convened an emergency meeting of the National Security Council. Present were the Minister of the Interior, the Minister of Defense, the Governor of the Central Bank, the Chief of National Intelligence, Commandant Yakuba Origo, key military and police strategists. He opened the meeting bluntly. "This is not a random criminal act. This is an orchestrated attempt to collapse our economy. We are facing an economic coup d'état." The central bank governor confirmed that over the past 2 months, monetary supply indicators had shown an abnormal increase in currency circulation. Yet, the bank had not issued any new large-scale print runs. That left only one possibility. Fake money was being injected into the economy on a massive scale, and somehow no one had noticed until now. Commandant Origo, the intelligence chief, offered his own alarming report. His agents had detected strange cash movements and purchasing patterns in several border towns. Luxury goods were being bought in large quantities, and even petty traders suddenly had access to large denominations of CFA francs. "It's as if someone opened a faucet and flooded the economy with fake bills," Origo said. The formation of an elite task force. President Traoré made a bold decision. Form a multi-agency elite task force. This special unit would include top financial forensic analysts, cyber and printing specialists, military intelligence officers, special forces operatives. Their mission: track, infiltrate, and dismantle the counterfeit operation at its root. The president gave explicit instructions. "You will operate with full authority. Use all surveillance and financial tracking tools available. Work in silence. We cannot allow this information to leak. If it does, the entire country could fall into panic." The first major breakthrough. The investigation began with forensic analysis of the seized counterfeit notes. Experts at the central bank discovered something critical. The paper and ink used to print the notes were not available within Burkina Faso. In fact, they matched only a few suppliers worldwide, meaning someone had gone to extreme lengths to import specialized materials. The task force dug into customs import records for the last 6 months. After filtering out normal industrial and printing materials, one suspicious pattern emerged. Large quantities of high-quality security-grade printing paper had been imported by a company named Primerie Moderne SA, a small printing house registered in Ouagadougou. Even more suspicious was the company's owner, François Ouedraogo. Just 6 months earlier, Ouedraogo had been relatively unknown, a modest business owner. But recently he'd made headlines quietly in social circles. He had purchased a luxury villa in one of Ouagadougou's most affluent neighborhoods, 2 high-end foreign cars, a private membership at an elite country club. All of this was unexplained by his legitimate income. The signs were clear. This man's sudden wealth was tied to something far more sinister. Surveillance operations begin. President Traoré authorized covert, 24/7 surveillance on Ouedraogo. The National Intelligence Service tapped his phone lines, followed his movements, monitored his business transactions, and recorded all meetings. He was observed holding nighttime meetings with unidentified individuals, often switching vehicles and traveling without phones, classic counter-surveillance behavior. Then, 1 week into surveillance, a critical moment came. Midnight movement. At exactly 12:17 a.m., Wedrao exited his villa and entered a black jeep with tinted windows. He drove toward the industrial zone on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, an area filled with warehouses and abandoned buildings. The field team radioed in. Target is on the move. Heading northeast. Industrial zone. Possible destination. Illicit printing location. The unit tailed him discreetly, keeping their distance but never losing sight. He eventually arrived at an old, seemingly abandoned factory building. There were lights on inside. Strange, rhythmic sounds like printing presses echoed faintly from the building. Wedrao went inside. The officer in charge whispered into his radio. Lights are on. Machinery sounds inside. He's not alone. This could be the counterfeit site. The moment of truth had arrived. President Traoré, having insisted on personally overseeing the takedown, was already en route with a 20-vehicle Special Forces convoy, moving under the cover of darkness without headlights, using night vision and encrypted radios. The mission: raid and secure the printing facility before dawn. It was nearing 2 a.m. when President Ibrahim Traoré's convoy reached the outskirts of Ouagadougou's industrial zone. The night was silent, but tension filled the air. The target: a decaying old factory that had, unbeknownst to the public, become the nerve center of a sophisticated counterfeit operation. Inside, powerful industrial printers hummed like war machines. Workers, unaware they were moments away from being caught, fed stacks of special imported paper into presses, producing fake CFA francs that were nearly impossible to distinguish from genuine currency. Final surveillance confirmation. From a rooftop across the street, an intelligence officer radioed in quietly. We've confirmed activity inside. At least 6 individuals. Armed security present at the entrance and the rear loading dock. No sign they're aware of our presence. President Traoré was riding in an armored SUV, monitoring the radio channel with unwavering focus. He nodded to Colonel Idrissa Kone, head of the Special Forces unit, and gave the go-ahead. Surround the perimeter. Disable all exit points. Move on my command. The assault begins. In a matter of seconds, the factory was completely encircled. Black-clad special forces moved into position like shadows. Snipers took up posts on rooftops. Drones buzzed silently overhead, feeding infrared images of everyone inside. Traoré gave the order. Execute. A flashbang grenade shattered the front entrance, followed by a swift and brutal breach by the first strike team. Simultaneously, the rear team stormed the loading dock. Shouts rang out. Guns were drawn, but the element of surprise was absolute. Within 7 minutes, the entire facility was secured. 8 suspects were arrested, including François Wedrao, who had tried to escape through a side door but was tackled by agents lying in wait. On the floor beside the main printing press was a duffel bag containing over 1.2 billion CFA francs in fake notes, fresh off the presses. Wedrao, sweating and visibly shaken, was handcuffed and dragged before Colonel Kone. The officer showed him a counterfeit note and asked, "How many more like this have you released?" Wedrao didn't answer. But he didn't have to. The evidence was overwhelming. What they found inside. As the building was searched inch by inch, the scale of the operation became clear. 3 industrial-grade offset printing machines, capable of producing 1 million notes per week. Pallets of special imported security paper and ink, matching materials found in seized notes. Fake watermarks and holograms mimicking official central bank security features. Ledgers containing coded records of distribution across multiple cities and even bordering nations. A digital wallet on Wedrao's laptop showing crypto transactions, suggesting the proceeds from fake currency may have been laundered internationally. Burkina Faso Special Forces also recovered forged central bank seals, employee ID templates, and passports from several countries. This wasn't just a local crime ring, this was part of a transnational criminal operation. Interrogation and international links. Under interrogation, Wedrao initially resisted speaking. But after being presented with surveillance footage, customs documents, and recordings of his own phone calls, he broke. He revealed the names of several collaborators, including a foreign financier based in Côte d'Ivoire, a logistics broker who smuggled the paper and ink through Togo, a corrupt customs official who helped disguise the shipment as industrial printing material. He also confessed that large amounts of the fake currency had already been sent into markets in Niger, Mali, and Benin, aimed at destabilizing regional economies and triggering inflation to discredit national governments. National address and public reaction. By dawn, the entire country had heard the news. At 8 a.m., President Traoré addressed the nation in a live televised speech. Flanked by military commanders and economic officials, he revealed the full extent of the crisis and assured the public, "We have dismantled a network that sought to collapse our economy from within. This was not just crime, this was war by other means. We responded with strength, unity, and precision. Burkina Faso will not be broken." He emphasized that new banknote security features would be introduced, banks would begin exchanging suspicious notes, and citizens would not be punished if they unknowingly held counterfeits. The central bank launched a currency audit, and special hotline centers were opened for people to report fake notes. Regional and global impact. The fallout from the operation extended far beyond Burkina Faso. The West African Economic and Monetary Union (WEMU) held an emergency summit to assess regional currency security. Interpol and ECOWAS intelligence agencies opened joint investigations into linked criminal groups operating across borders. Several arrests were made in Abidjan, Lomé, and Niamey, revealing how wide the network had spread. Legacy and reflection. Aminata Sowadogo, the young bank clerk who first noticed the irregularities, was publicly commended by President Traoré. She was promoted and awarded the Order of National Merit. In a later interview, Traoré remarked, "We won this battle not just with guns and intelligence, but with the courage of ordinary people who chose to do the right thing." The case became a defining moment of Traoré's presidency, a vivid demonstration of the fragility of modern economies and the importance of vigilance, leadership, and national unity in the face of invisible threats. The successful raid on the counterfeit printing facility marked the end of an audacious plot, but for President Ibrahim Traoré and his government, it was only the beginning of a much larger battle: rebuilding public trust, reforming financial institutions, and ensuring such a threat could never arise again. The judiciary takes over. Within hours of the arrests, the suspects, including François Wedrao, were transferred under heavy military escort to a high-security detention facility. Their case was fast-tracked under Burkina Faso's anti-economic sabotage and terrorism laws, a special judicial category reserved for crimes that threaten the sovereignty of the state. In the weeks that followed, the public prosecutor's office unveiled a 150-page indictment. The charges included large-scale counterfeiting of legal tender, conspiracy to undermine national security, economic treason, money laundering through international channels, tax evasion and customs fraud. François Wedrao was portrayed not merely as a greedy businessman, but as the local agent of a broader transnational network, with deep financial and political motives. In court, prosecutors argued that the counterfeit money operation was designed to flood the economy, inflate prices, and create civil unrest, possibly ahead of a coup attempt or foreign political interference. Long-term economic and institutional reforms. President Traoré, in response to the crisis, introduced a series of sweeping reforms, calling it a Marshall Plan for economic sovereignty. These included 1. Monetary security overhaul. New generation CFA franc notes were designed with enhanced security features, nanotext printing, ultraviolet reactive fibers, and 3D holograms visible only under biometric scanners. The Central Bank of Burkina Faso partnered with forensic currency labs in Switzerland and South Africa to implement an AI-powered counterfeit detection system across all ATMs and cash counters. All commercial banks were ordered to audit their currency holdings, and large sums of cash were temporarily frozen until verified as authentic. 2. Customs and border control modernization. All customs officers underwent retraining in anti-smuggling operations, including how to identify disguised imports like the high-security paper and ink used in the counterfeiting. Burkina Faso installed X-ray scanners and chemical detection systems at major entry points, including land crossings and airports. A digital tracking system for all industrial imports was developed to flag anomalies, like small firms importing disproportionately large volumes of sensitive material. 3. Intelligence and surveillance expansion. The National Intelligence Agency, NIA, was granted greater budget and authority to investigate financial crimes as national security threats. A new cyber-economic warfare unit was created to monitor suspicious financial transactions, cryptocurrency laundering, and dark web activity within the Sahel region. 4. Legal and civic engagement. Parliament passed the National Currency Protection Act, defining economic sabotage as equivalent to an act of war, punishable by life imprisonment. The government launched a mass public awareness campaign, using TV, radio, and community outreach to educate citizens on how to detect counterfeit notes and report suspicious activities anonymously. Whistleblower protection laws were expanded, inspired by Aminata Sawadogo's critical role in exposing the plot. Public reaction and rebuilding trust. Initially, fear gripped the population. People were uncertain if the money in their wallets or savings accounts was real. Markets slowed. There were brief surges in gold and USD purchases. To counter panic, the government set up mobile currency authentication units, armored vans equipped with scanners and detectors that traveled to marketplaces and rural areas, verifying notes and reassuring citizens. Citizens who voluntarily surrendered counterfeit notes were compensated at 70% of the real note's value, as long as they could prove the money came from a legitimate transaction. This measure was costly but crucial for restoring trust in the national currency. Regional and international ripples. The operation's success reverberated across West Africa. WEMU created a joint regional task force for currency protection, modeled after Burkina Faso's strategy. Interpol issued red notices for financiers and logistics operatives linked to the ring. Arrests followed in Lomé, Cotonou, and Niamey. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, commended Burkina Faso and pledged assistance to develop a regional financial crime monitoring center in Ouagadougou. Diplomatic cables later revealed that foreign actors with geopolitical interests in the Sahel had been monitoring the counterfeiting plot, possibly to exploit economic destabilization for influence. Traoré's success in stopping the operation bolstered his image as a fierce defender of national sovereignty. The legacy of a crisis averted. 6 months after the raid, Burkina Faso had stabilized. Inflation was under control. Market confidence rebounded. Tourist approval ratings soared. Aminata Sawadogo, now head of the central bank's fraud detection department, addressed a graduation class of finance students, telling them, "Sometimes, defending your country doesn't mean holding a gun. Sometimes it's just holding a suspicious banknote and asking the right question." Conclusion. A new chapter for Burkina Faso. The defeat of the counterfeit operation was more than a law enforcement win. It was a turning point, a moment that reshaped the way the nation viewed economic security, transparency, and citizen responsibility. President Ibrahim Traoré's swift and aggressive response was hailed as an example of how modern threats require modern leadership, and how, in the 21st century, wars are not only fought with bullets, but also with paper, ink, and silence. Burkina Faso had not only survived a silent attack on its economy, it had emerged stronger, more vigilant, and more unified.